your recollection about the Israel-Gaza war was that over 10,000 innocent people were killed. Now, as you know...
Wait a minute. Did you read the whole transcript, Jake?
I did.
Yes.
I read the entire transcript.
What did I say in it? What I said is, am I right on that? I didn't know what the number was.
You didn't know what the number was. Absolutely, I understand.
And the gentleman there was the fellow who was conducting the meeting, said, let me check it. He Googled it up, and the number was, I think, 2,100.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know, what's the difference? 10,000, 2,000. You're only talking about the murderous Israeli Defense Force, right? Welcome to Gimme 5. That's Bernie Sanders being confronted by Jake Tapper, shockingly, about his misinformation. He keeps repeating that the Israelis killed 10,000 innocent civilians in the Gaza war in 2014. Now, the civilians who were killed, many of them were human shields. Many of them were right where they launched the rockets from. They launched the rockets from hotel areas. They launched the rockets from hospital rooftops. And Israel retaliates from where the rockets are being launched. That's why you had some dead civilians. But Bernie Sanders, 10,000, 2,000, what's the difference? Watch.
It does amaze me. I have to, if I say to you, you ask me a question, and I say, well, you know, I think it's the number. What do you think? I'm not sure. And you come back and you say it's another number. I say, okay. Why is that a major production?
You ever hear of blood, libel, Bernie, Mr. Jewish, Bernie Sanders? You ever hear of blood libel? I'm amazed. What's the difference? I give you a number, it's wrong. You give me a number, who cares? 10,000, 2,000, a million, none, who cares? Same thing. What are you, out of your mind? This guy is a disgrace, just an old disgrace. More.
Was Israel's response disproportionate? I think it was. All right, Israel has a 100%, and no one will fight for that principle more strongly than I will, has the right to live in freedom, independently, and in security without having to be subjected to terrorist attacks. But I think that we will not succeed to ever bring peace into that region unless we also treat the Palestinians with dignity and respect.
Where do I start? First of all, Israel responded disproportionately? Disproportionately? You mean because they have the weapons and they are in the right against terror, they should say, oh, we shouldn't use our weapons because the other side doesn't have it. Let's have a fair fight. We'll tie our hands behind our backs and fight the Palestinians. That is the most anti-freedom, anti-Jewish, anti-common sense baloney that the left likes to spew only against Israel. Disproportionate force. The heck is that? Now, as far as him saying that we got to treat the Palestinians who teach their kids in school to kill the Jew, who, by the way, is a monkey, who teach their kids on TV, state-run TV, to kill the Jew and take Jerusalem with their blood, who celebrate homicide bombers who kill women and children by naming streets after them and soccer stadiums after them, those Palestinians. So Jake Tapper says, you see any irony here, Bernie? You're Jewish. You're like the first legitimate Jewish presidential candidate in a long time.
Whether you're Jewish or not Jewish, I would hope that every person in this country wants to see the misery of never-ending war and conflict ended in the Middle East. It's a difficult issue, and good people have tried to deal with it for years. All that I'm saying, as somebody who is absolutely pro-Israeli, absolutely 100% supports Israel's right to exist in peace and in security, I think that the only way we succeed is that if the United States plays a role which says, of course we are going to support Israel, but you cannot ignore the needs of the Palestinian people.
Isn't it comforting that Bernie Sanders supports Israel's right to exist, as if that's in question? Only in his left-wing liberal socialist mind could it be in question. And then the poor people of Gaza.
In Gaza right now, poverty, unemployment, their community has been decimated. You can't ignore that fact. And you can't just be only concerned about Israel's needs. You have to be concerned about the needs of all of the people in the region.
When Israel withdrew from Gaza, they saved everything for them. They had donations from overseas from Jewish philanthropists to make sure that everything was kept intact. You know what the Gazans did, the Palestinians did? They tore it all apart. They didn't want anything Jewish. They're responsible for their own poverty.